following program contains views that are not those of WVTC, iNetworks Communications, their subsidiaries, affiliates, or financial supporters.
WVTC, reaching the world with positivity. Music to get you through your day. Winning victory through Christ is the only way.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Praise the Lord, saints. I hope you are blessed on this Saturday morning. Thank you for joining us at RIL Inspirational Radio. I am Bishop Sherman Henderson, the senior pastor of revival in the Land Missionary Baptist Church, located 9134 South on Cottage 12.
And I am Evangelist Marquise Holyfield, and we're super excited to have you with us this Saturday morning. We do have a fun-filled show. So, of course, we will talk about March Madness highlights. We'll talk about some things that's happening this week in the news. And then we have a really good relationship topic for you all. You know, we started the conversation talking about the different types of people that you should and should not have in your life. So we're going to talk about that today. So we got a great show. So
yeah, lots going on. Tomorrow is Easter, so we want to wish happy Easter or happy Resurrection Sunday to all the saints out there. You know that Revival and Land Missionary Baptist Church, located 9134 South on Cottage Grove. Service starts promptly at 11 a.m. We would like for you to come out and be our guest tomorrow if you're not doing anything.
yes, come out and join us, have fun, and be excited. We will have great candy. We do keep a little bit of Revival and Land tradition where we give out resurrection baskets for our children. So if you want some good chocolate, come out and join us. You know, everybody get a basket.
Yes, it's a blessed time. I also want to let you know you can to look out for Real Inspirational Radio on YouTube and TikTok coming in April. We're going to expand our multimedia ministry, get more involved and get more engaged in our community. And I'm excited about this next step that we're about to take.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. So have you been watching any basketball?
Yes, I have been watching some basketball. I will have to say this year's March Madness has been really, really good.
It has been
for people who haven't been in it for a very long time. So, I'm super excited, as we do a little recap. The first rounds, there was a few upsets and so forth.
There always is, yeah.
When Oakland was knocked out and so forth. So it was like, oh my God. And then, traditional ones. But then we was excited because the first, 2 rounds, Illinois, Northwestern was in. And it was like, oh, this is great. And
then Northwestern met UConn.
Yeah, and then UConn blew them out. Sorry, Northwestern.
Today is Illinois and UConn.
So this is going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I want Illinois to win, but I think UConn is just...
I know, they're dynamic, and they always have been a dynamic thing. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I know they were saying how this was the first time in almost, I think, 5 years that Illinois even got into the Sweet 16 now in the Elite 8.
Yeah,
so, they have come a long way.
Yeah, they got a good team. They play really hard-fought game. But there were some other upsets. Marquette, which is kind of like a regional team for us, got beat by North Carolina State. NC State.
But NC State is really good. I've seen them play some really good season basketball, but I'm like, okay, NC State is really good. And
Duke, now they'll be playing Duke on Sunday.
Okay.
And I'm not this smart. I have my notes here. And then Purdue is playing.
Yes, Purdue's progressed. That's really good too.
So our area is kind of really being represented here.
Yes. We know Alabama won last night.
Yeah. So, Alabama won last night, and they beat my team, North Carolina.
Yeah, everybody was.
I wonder will they take my gym shoes back at the store because I bought North Carolina Blues because I thought they were going to do it.
They're going to take your shoes back.
Well, Duke is still in it. I'm always the Duke fan, even though this is one of the first years that we see in Duke without Coach K.
Yeah, that is true.
So that's interesting. So Hopefully, all you all brackets are still intact. I didn't have a bracket this year, so I didn't have to worry about it.
And I never do one because I don't understand the whole bracket thing. I just watch the game. I'm gonna be honest. So I'm really excited. We'll see how this shapes
It's
out.
gonna be good today. I'm gonna be glued to the TV today myself. So today we got any other announcements at Revival in the Land that we need to share? I'll be speaking at Apostle Redmond's Church on I think it's 119. I want to say 11905 South on Michigan on the 14th of April for his Men's Day. We're really excited. The theme out there is When Men Pray, which is really interesting because based upon doing that, I've been doing study about, because there is kind of a gap between African American men and the church. And some of the research that I'm reading is really, really interesting on why that gap exists. So we're going to be talking about When Men Pray.
Okay, so we're I think that's all we got coming up outside of our
We're going to try to get Bible study on our Facebook Live.
Live. Yes,
so
we're going to do
do
that. And then we are going to try to do a women's ministry, another women's ministry event. So
okay.
So yes, we just got a few things coming down.
Yeah, it's getting warm and it's time to ramp up and get post-COVID. That's one of our goals is to theme of 2024 is get back to normal because from 21 to 23 it was
slow moving
and a lot of disruptive change and a lot going on. So trying to come out of COVID and we're not the only church. I think we're doing excellent. I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, we are.
So now we're ready to get back to normal. And so that's why we want all our friends to come out and join us in worship as we put together our praise team. I'm really excited to put together a praise team and some other auxiliaries in the church. And so we want to invite our friends and neighbors back. So,
come back and visit us. Spend some time with us.
So today we're going to have one of them hot topics, one of those ones that we figured that we would devote some time to. And we're talking about.
So we were talking about the type of people that you want to be in relationship with. Not necessarily just romantic relationship, but just familiar relationships and friendships as well. I know before we get there, we wanted to acknowledge some things that happened this week. I really want to say that the citizens of Rockford are in our prayers. We know we had a good morning, Sylvia. How are you?
Good morning, Sylvia.
We really had a interesting time with a young man who decided to do some bodily harm to some citizens in Rockford. So we're praying for the ones that survived and pray for the families that lost loved ones. We know there were 4 individuals out of the 7 that passed away. So we just want to pray for those families. We also want to pray for the city of Baltimore, Maryland. We know that a barge ship came and clipped the bridge, and then the whole bridge collapsed.
That was I could not believe how fast that bridge went down.
And we thank God that the bridge was actually closed. But we know there was some loss of life. It was closed because they were working on it. Construction workers were on it. So we know 4 of the construction workers did not make it.
How many?
It was 4 that did not make it.
Did they find the other 3?
They haven't been able to find them yet because they know that they're under the wreckage and they haven't been able to. They've been trying to clear the port of Baltimore so that they can get the wreckage. I know they were bringing in the cranes and stuff to kind of get the bridge out, but it was a sad day.
So they're presuming that the other 3 is dead.
Yeah, they're assuming that they're gone.
Well, that and just to see the bridge go down that fast was shocking to me. I would have assumed that it would have had more time, but it literally was like when I'm playing my grandson and we knock over a bridge and it just falls and collapses.
And I think it's sometimes where it's hit. You don't know where you think it's the strongest, maybe the footing and so forth, and with enough power and so forth, and it just at that right angle is enough to kind of bring it all down.
That's phenomenal. My heart goes out. Our hearts goes out. We're praying for all those families that were impacted by that. That was truly, truly, truly a tragedy.
Yes.
And so was the stabbings that happened in Rockford. 9 people were stabbed randomly, and then first when I heard about them, I'm like, how does somebody stab 9 people? But I guess he went around the neighborhood.
He went around the neighborhood, ringing doorbells and so forth. People were coming in and out the house.
Now what about looking at the Illinois primary results?
Yes, we now, after 10 days of deliberation and counting votes, and it being super duper close, we do now have Democratic candidate for state's attorney for Cook County. Lylene Burke has been
Eileen Burke O'Neill is O'Neill Burke.
O'Neill Burke.
O'Neill Burke.
So Eileen O'Neill Burke has been named as a Democratic candidate, and now she has to go against one Republican candidate and then an independent candidate for state's attorneys in November.
I think it's a foregone conclusion when you win the Democratic primary Illinois that you're going to be the state's attorney.
I mean, we
had Jack Ryan, right?
So right. So I was gonna say, ain't nothing over until it's all in there.
Wasn't there another candidate, because he was married to the lady who played 7 of 9 on Star Trek, and that's why I know him. His name was Ryan too. I think it was Robert Ryan. So yeah, we had Jack Ryan. I remember back Jack. Oh no, his name was Jack O'Malley. Mm-hmm. Jack Ryan. Okay, so now I get it. So I guess there is a possibility, but normally,
and
it's a foregone conclusion.
Normally, but you know, these times and these days,
you just never know.
You never know. So we just gonna say we're gonna see how it go, y'all.
Yeah, wow.
See what this process is. So,
were there any other surprises? We know Danny Davis won.
Yeah, Danny Davis
held
won.
Off his challenge.
Pretty much most of the other seats kind of stayed the same. I don't think it's really not that much shocking pieces. I think the closest ones was the state's attorney one that we talked about.
This is interesting because it's like the citizens now in Illinois say they want a tougher state's attorney.
Yes, they do. And, we've had to deal with so much in the city of Chicago, and unfortunately, it's just kind of one of these things of like, what do we do? We've had, when we've had so much of, doing pandemic, you had all the rioting and so forth, and then you also had all the shutdowns that happened downtown, multiple, and then all the break-ins, and they were just showing something on last night that there were 7 businesses in a row that had been had break-ins back to back by a ring of individuals. So I think it's just crime has just been so rampant, and we know that unfortunately
the carjackings
and the shootings on these expressways have been.
I think that people crazy. Saw things that shocked them, like for instance, the lady who was attacked, and then they came back
and got her,
and when you see things like that, and we had the young lady who was killed in the, I think it was the UIC parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah. And so when you see things like that, you say to yourself that there has to be some accountability. I'm all about social justice,
but it do have to be some
police. I really do, and because it's almost get to the point where it's dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
So we're praying. So we got a winner, and for the state's attorney. So that's interesting. I kind of thought when I was looking at the whole process, I kind of thought she was going to win initially. Anyway.
Yeah,
but he had the back of the machine. So what does the machine mean now?
You know what? I don't know, and I guess we need to probably stop thinking that way. I know here in Chicago we talk about the machine, we talk about the political backing and so forth, and I know for years and years, if certain individuals said it was going to go this way, that's the way it went. But I feel like you have to think of too. A lot of those individuals don't have as much power as they used to. A lot of them have passed on, and a lot of them have retired or unfortunately have had criminal cases put against them. So they really don't have the stronghold that they used to have within the city of Chicago. So I think we're finally getting to see a different
wait a second. Mary Flowers got beat.
Yeah.
By a novice that was running, a young African-American man. She was there for 38 years.
Yeah, but they talked about she didn't do very much.
She did?
Well, that was the number one thing. They talked about how she had been there for so long, and what was the thing? What has she accomplished? And they didn't have anything to say about what she had accomplished.
Yeah. So, that was a big upset because she had been there so long, and she should have had a political machine. And we're not even going to talk about my city of Dalton. We're not even going to talk about it. Not even going to talk about it. They give my mayor a pretty hard time, and I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know what happened, but I thought she's pretty active.
Oh yes, they
She-
do
she-
have so much stuff going on.
nationally. Like she
I
was
know.
on Rolling Martin. When I seen that when she was on the Rolling show, I'm like, what?
Well, they're saying inappropriation of funds.
Oh yeah, they saying that she did a lot of things, like misappropriation of funds, spending, having a whole security details, going to Vegas. Now I don't know. I mean, from what I see, she's doing a pretty good job, and I imagine if you're the mayor, sometimes you would have to need to travel, and if
Yeah,
she's
you
a
do
lady
need to
and she
travel.
don't feel safe and she has police at her disposal, maybe cut back on the overtime.
I mean, probably that. But if you think about it, city Chicago has round the clock mayor
protection.
protection.
Right.
So I don't know what mayor doesn't have round the clock protection.
I just think that no matter what you do, you're gonna have critics, and that's one of the things that I've come to embrace. Because it used to be a time when I wanted harmony, and I would try to, if I had critics, I would try to not so much win them over, but come to an agreement.
Right.
But I've just come to the place to realize that no matter who you are, what you do, you're gonna have critics.
Yeah, and so I think that's one of the things that we learn. I mean, the Bible talks about this. You're not gonna be able to please everybody all the time. So it's important that our focus should be pleasing God and not pleasing other people. Because when you try to please, this person or that person, somebody always gonna be left out. Somebody always gonna be upset.
And it's just, no matter what you do, when you think about it, Jesus had critics.
Yeah.
And he had critics inside the church, not just outside the church. So you can't get around it. And to your point, the only thing you do is have a clear conscience toward God and just embrace the rest.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
So we're gonna be talking today about some
the people,
positive and negative people
and
lives. And so really, really, really good.
So which list you want? I got the.
We'll do the toxic people first.
Okay, let's do the toxic people.
All
right. So what we've come to find, there are 7 toxic people that we've all encountered in our life at some point, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. So the first one you have is, we call it the conversational narcissist. And you're probably like, what is that? So that is the person that, they always really talking about themselves. Whatever you have a conversation, you could be talking about, oh, the sky is blue and it's beautiful outside. Well, I remember that time when I flew on the plane and I was looking at the blue sky. It's always going to revert back to them.
No matter what happened. And I'm pretty sure that we see that, but we don't pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. I think these people, some of the one of the things is looking for those signs. And you do know that, you have that conversational narcissist where it's always about them. And then when you turn the focus off of them, they tend to get uncomfortable.
Yeah, they do. They tend to get uncomfortable. They can't not have it be about them. And so I think it's important to recognize especially when we talk about relationships, whether it be friendships or romantic relationships, being able to see some of those red flags. If you're in a relationship with someone, even if it's friendships, and you can't ever get a word edgewise. I know with some people, I know a friend of ours who's like that. She will call and we will talk. And the whole conversation is, you call her because you needed to vent, and the whole conversation was all about her. We'd be like, maybe you get out the phone going, oh, I'm glad you got what you needed. I didn't get what I did.
But so how do you turn that around where it is inclusive?
Well, I think one of those things that what you do is, one is try to first have the conversation with the person and say, hey, I noticed that whenever we in conversation that I never get a word in edgewise, or I feel like the conversation is always being led into one-sidedness. And then try to figure out, well, how do we get to ways where I take a pause, you take a pause, so that both people get what it is that they need out of the conversation. So if you're talking for 20 minutes, and you talk the whole 20 minutes, you've been on the phone, the other person has a chance to say anything, you might be like, well, I need to be quiet.
I think it's a matter of flow. I think it's a matter of having dialogue that flows back and forth. Good communication is like that, where it flows back and forth. And then sometimes you just use my old-fashioned way, which is shut up, let me talk. No, I'm joking. Shut up, let me talk.
Shut up, let me talk.
But the thing about that conversational narcissist is that you don't get to communicate. And also, that'll, when things come up, they'll feel like, well, you didn't tell me that. And be like, well, I never really got a chance to tell you that. And so the other thing that I noticed about the narcissist, just in general, is that it's tough because they'll do things, and then when you do that exact same thing, they will complain about
and
it.
be upset, and
Right.
then say, "Well, you never listen to me, and you always talking. I can't get in the words edgewise." You be like,
Or they'll go live their life, and then when you try to go do something, it'll be like, I thought we were supposed to spend time together. Oh, start the gaslight and things like that.
"Yes,
And so as we look at that conversational narcissist, or that narcissist in general, it's important because the narcissist is so self-absorbed, they don't have the capacity to care about those around them. So what that looks like, a lot of times, it looks like them moving people around on a chessboard, kind of like on a chessboard
Yeah.
type of deal.
I think it's key and important to kind of recognize that." The next one we really want to talk about is the straitjacket.
Oh yeah.
So this is the person that got to control everything in. All of us have had this in relationships, or somebody in our family, one of our friends, that they be upset because things didn't go their way. It's not just, oh, I'm disappointed. It's like, it was supposed to go this way and it didn't go this way, and then they losing it.
And so what I do is I tell my children, for instance, I talk to my children, I tell them, first of all, people aren't possessions.
Yes.
And that's one thing we really need to teach in society, because I'm watching a lot of shows, whether they be crime shows or different shows, and at the root is that people are looking at other people like possessions, and they're not. A relationship is about two people choosing to be together.
Yes.
And making that choice to walk forward together through the good, the bad, and everything else, right? People aren't controlled. I hear some people always say, that's my lady, my man. Well, theoretically,
yeah, yes and no.
Right.
Yes and yes, y'all together, but they don't belong to you.
Right. People aren't possessions. And that's where that straitjacket person comes from, because they want to control everything. What you wear,
what you eat, how much weight you gain.
Always correcting you. It's always the correcting when you're talking. Well, you should have said it like this. Well, you should have done it.
Or
like
not allowing you to really speak in itself. We sometimes find this. Sometimes we find this behavior a lot in domestic violence relationships as well, where it comes up, where everything is controlled by an individual, and they also try to isolate you from other people.
Absolutely. And so you hit it right on the head. So the thing that you want to be mindful of is when people are kind of isolating you, and it always has to be their way.
Yep.
You want to be careful of people like that, because a lot of times those are people who have trauma. And so the only way that not the only way, one of the ways they learn how to survive, and it's a survival technique that they use, is to control everything and everybody around them.
And we all know we can't control anything. We only can control ourselves. So I think it's important for us to, if you find yourself in those situations, take a step back, kind of get calm. But if you find yourself in the relationship that wise, you want to definitely kind of figure out, like, is this the best fit for me? Is the best relationship? Is this person able to control that, change those behaviors? And if not, it may not be the healthiest relationship for you all to be in.
Right, because we talk about like the 4 attachment styles. You got the healthy attachment style, but you also have that disorganized attachment style. And then you also have the I don't want to call it the insecure attachment style, but that's basically where it is, where the person's always insecure. They always need validation. And so that is difficult to be in a relationship with that person, because they have been traumatized to the point where they don't have a positive self-image of themselves. And as a result, it's going to be very difficult to have a relationship with them, because if they don't like themselves, they're going to probably find things that they don't like about you. And even if that means I'm projecting myself onto you.
Or the opposite factor of it is that they can see the positiveness inside of you, but always talking about the negative sides of them, and not allowing themselves to be able to be in that place of healing too. So I think it's important and key to be mindful of, again, what it is that you can handle, because you don't want it to be where, we talked about this last week, that the people that you hang around, Bishop talked about this in the sermon last week, the 5 people that you hang around the most is the people that's how you're going to be. So if you're always the positive, encouraging, loving, supportive person and you're around the negative Nancy, the person who's always insecure, always in this opposite form, one of y'all going to pull each other to the other side. So you have to be mindful of that and then get the balance and so forth and how to work through those things.
Correct, because you do need balance. You don't want friends that are just cheerleaders.
Right.
You do need the balance, but to your point, it's that negative person. Like sometimes you talk to people, and what do I do? And I know I give all my little secrets away, but what I do sometimes, when I find people in that, I keep asking them questions because I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna get a yes out of them somewhere. And I know I'm playing, and I wouldn't say playing the game because everything is no, this, that, the other. No, this, no, no, no. And so they get into them no's. And so watch it when you get into no's, because that is generally a sign that the person isn't really listening to you. They're trying to win the conversation. It's like, no, and don't do this and don't do that. So, because me, fortunately, I'm lucky enough to be hard-headed. So
I'm lucky enough to be hard-headed.
I am. I do what I feel like my heart tells me to do. I'm respectful and I listen, right? So I'll listen and I take in and I observe it, but I'll do this thing called I take the best.
And lead the rest. You always tell us that.
I take the best, lead the rest, so that way I don't have to argue with people just because somebody is quote unquote bossing me around. I'm gonna take the best of what they say because they might have some good input, but I'm gonna lead the rest, right?
The stuff that don't need, we just leave it on the table.
And then it's important because, as one thing I was telling my children this week is that we have more power than we think we have.
We do.
Meaning that we can make our life anything we wanted to at any moment that we wanted to. Any moment, anything you don't like, you can change, right? And so don't, especially when they're young and they in their 20s and 30s. I'm like, you literally can become anything you want to be. You want to be a doctor, you can stop, pause, and say, I want to be a doctor now.
Exactly. And so still have the time and the ability to do it.
Now, what do you think about older life? Because like I'll be 57 on the 9th. 57 on the 9th, and I'm like, would it be reasonable for me to do a career change at this stage?
Well, you know what? You've told us, and we always use this story of 2 people. You talked about Famous Amos. Yeah. It wasn't until his 50s before 60s before he started over. And then Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders wasn't until he was in his 70s, wasn't he?
He was in the 70s.
When he did it. So I have a firm belief, and then this is the key factor of it is, and one of my former students, she said it best. She was like, when your calling is your calling, you can run from it, you can hide from it, but your calling is to your calling, and you still gonna find yourself some way, shape, or form in it.
Yeah, like Moses.
Yep, like Moses. He ran from it, and God said, okay, I'm just wait till you turn 80. When you mellow out, you ain't got much of a hot temper.
You won't be killing people.
You won't be killing people. Life just slows you down. You have some kids and so forth. You got a little wisdom in you. And then I'm going to be like, okay, now come serve.
Right. It was interesting because he was 80. So that made me say, well, how old was Jethro? If Moses was in his 80s, how old was Jethro?
He had to be older because, think about it. We think about...
He's his wife's father.
Yeah, father-in-law. He was his father-in-law.
I'm like, so how old was Jethro? But maybe we'll do that as a topic. How do you start over in career when you're older? Maybe that should be a good topic that we do.
Yeah, maybe let's do
so the next one that we had was the emotional moocher. And I like to call these people a vampire because they tend to suck the positivity, as we were just talking about it, the positivity or bleed you emotionally dry. These are people who always have something sad, negative, and pessimistic to say in conversation and in relationships. They can never see the positive, tend to bring everyone down with them. And if you're with someone and they only have bad things to say whenever you see them, watch out.
Yeah.
So now that's what we're talking about. Yeah. So you come in and you say, hey, you know what? I am happy because I got a new job. Well, you're going to have to get up early in the morning,
Well, you got to drive farther. Well, you still got 90 days to make sure they're going to keep you.
Yeah, don't leave that good job because it might not work. How do you deal with And this could be in relationships too. It's emotionally draining to always be around negative people.
Yeah. And again, it has to be that balance. I'm not saying that you're gonna have people that's always gonna be cheerful and happy and positive. Everybody's gonna have their turn of negativity, of insecurities, of moments of doubts, of moments of weakness, of moments where they're questioning. It's the key factor. Do they live there?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Do they live
Because we're all
there?
negative sometimes, right?
Yes.
Now, we know that, and that one of the things that we teach and we preach in our ministry is that a lot of people are not happy because they're waiting to feel happy.
Yes.
And the one thing that we've come to know is that our minds are not designed to make us happy. They're not built that way. Our mind fundamental purpose is to keep us safe. So sometimes keeping us safe means being stagnant, being in environments that it can predict, even if those environments are bad for us, because it's predictive. And I don't have to think about, all those things that could be a threat to me, right? So a lot of times we're not changing in life, and not because we don't have opportunity, and we tend to be negative and pessimistic because that keeps us in that safe place.
Yeah.
So we have to realize that, first of all, there are no limits. You get every day you get to write the story of your life.
Yes,
every day.
Every day.
But what happens is when you talk to people, they're waiting for the change, and then they're going to change.
Right.
And we're saying, and tomorrow certainly we're going to have a little bit about it. Is no. You have to take the actions of change before you feel the change.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, it was actually, I was just reading something recently that talks about, like, if you want to see the change, you have to move first.
Right.
So, like, you can desire it all you want to, but until you move, until you put those things in the atmosphere, start that process to move itself, it doesn't happen. And change starts with you. A lot of times, we talk about being in relationships and so forth, and we always expecting our spouse or our significant other to change. Oh, when so-and-so don't do this no more, things are going to be better. But sometimes it may be the change in you. How do you handling the situation? So if you know that you are in a relationship with a person that sometimes can be not always positive, do you allow that to affect your mood? Do you be like, okay, you go pray and be like, okay, God, I'm leaving this at your feet, and then you continue to keep your positivity, or you continue to be that encourager or that supporter for them, or you put on your praise and worship music where you're not allowing it to affect you as a whole. Because we also realize that sometimes we in a relationship with individuals, and those moments are fleeting. They there for 10 minutes, and then 20 minutes, an hour later, hey, they all happy go lucky. You're like, well, and then your whole day has been changed.
Right, because we as people, because again, we aren't designed to. Our mind, being happy is a choice that we make, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being happy is a choice that we make. Now, once we make that choice to be happy, then we run to where that happiness is. What often happens is that we get stuck in repeating patterns, because patterns are easy to follow. As I was saying, if you want to be physically fit, are you going to wake up one day physically fit?
No,
or do you have to start when you don't want to do it and be consistent when you want to do it, right? And then your happy going to come when it's called seed time and harvest. Mm-hmm. You got your seed time, you got to water, you got to cultivate it, and then it grows. And so that's how we have to be in relationships. So the negative people in my life, you know what? I use them wisely, knowing that if I need to make sure that I'm considering if I'm getting 360 feedback, I use the negative people because I know they're going to give me probably the worst case scenario. And then I can use that information. But, so people are drain you. Have you ever been around people that drain you out of energy?
Yes. Did you feel like you was full of all this energy and life and encouragement? And then you're around people like, I'm tired. I need to go take a nap. Or you feel sad all of a sudden and you didn't know why.
Like I've been going through a grieving process, and what I'm starting to find out is that sometimes my therapist depresses me because she makes me think about thoughts that I was like, I wasn't thinking about that today, And so
you might have to bring that back up.
Right.
And say, hey, this is not necessarily the place I want to go. Or these are the questions when you're around those individuals. What is the benefit of me feeling this feeling right now?
Right. Absolutely. And that's where I'm at, because I'm in a place that says that I've got to find out what my happy is, and I need to get to that place. And that's and so, naturally the enemy throw up, you ain't going to be able to afford it, You know, it's going to cost you. And the truth of the matter is that you will adjust. That's the truth of the matter.
will.
And no matter what you do, you're gonna have regret. You know how we all most of the time we regret the things we didn't do. But guess what? Had you chosen the other thing, you would still be regretting the thing you didn't do, which is what you're doing right now.
Exactly. Because there's no, I mean,
Right.
unfortunately, I tell people all the time, and I've told my children and my friends, there is no guarantee in life. You're gonna have to make a choice. You're either gonna have to go right or left or down the middle. Whatever choice that you make, there is a consequence. And consequences are not always, we always say consequence and we think of negative. Sometimes consequences are really good because I did this thing happened. So this is great. And sometimes it's going to be, maybe that could have been a better road. This okay, but this could have been better. And so, but you never know until you make the choice, and then you have to be able to deal with whatever choices that you make. But the truth of the matter is, you're gonna always have the opportunity to choose, and you're always gonna be thinking in the back of your mind, what if I would have done this? Well, you won't know until you have done that.
Right. And no matter which choice you make, the overwhelming statistics say that you would have regrets about, you're always going to have regrets about the choice you didn't make. And so going into that, what I advocate is having a gratitude list. It's important to have things that we are grateful for, because otherwise you'll let the negativity overwhelm you. Why? Because we need to worry about how we're going to pay rent, right? Because that's our motivation to go to work. We need to worry about, getting older, right? That's our motivation to be healthy.
Right.
So we have to realize that our mind is trying to keep us safe. Now, my person or my inner man decides what happy is for me.
Yep.
And then I need to go there and be there and dwell in that space, right?
And then also realize happiness is situational. So it's one of those things too is, yes, we all strive for happiness, but know that happiness is temporary. What we really should be striving for is joy. And I know people hate when people say that, because sometimes being in a place of joy means that whatever situation you're in has not necessarily changed, but your mindset, your perspective, and the way you see the situation in this moment, that has what's changed. It allows you to be able to endure, because we know as Christians on this Christian journey, we're not going to get everything that we want. There's going to be times where we're going to go through some long suffering. It tells us that as parts of fruits of the spirit, that's what we're going to go through. We're going to have to go through times of patience. We're going to have to go through times of joy and sorrow. And it's important for us to realize that no matter where we are, Paul talks about this, where we are, we should be content. When I had plenty, I was content. When I had less, I was content. And it's when I have joy, when I have happiness, I'm content. Joy is that place that allows you that even when your situation has not changed, for you to be okay in that thing.
And that's really important. So one of the things that you talked about that I thought was really important is that I was looking at a documentary and it was on, I'm not a documentary, I was looking at some TikToks, and it was talking about, what it had some of the most wealthiest people in the world. And what they were saying is they found out that when you have everything you want, you will find out that is not the most important thing in life. And I know Will Smith talks about it. He said he woke up, he had everything that he wanted. He couldn't think of anything else that he needed. He couldn't even think of anything else to get his family, but he still wasn't happy. And then he found out that happiness, again, what I went back to, is a choice you make, is a state of being. Because even when something bad happens, you always have the option to say, what good can come out of this? And that's a paradigm shift.
Yes.
That's when you shift your paradigm, because we tend to focus on the negative. But what happens when we start saying, hey, what good can come out of this situation that I'm in right now, right? And when we start doing that, we give the mind something different to focus on. The thing is, your mind's gonna focus on something. It's gonna focus on negative, or it's gonna focus on positive. So what we have to do is, when we have those ruminating thoughts of negativity and I can't make it, and I done messed up so many times that I can't do it right, and all of those negative ruminating thoughts, what we have to do is we have to find a way spiritually. I do it through prayer, but also do it by flipping it. What can come out of this? Like I said, we know that I'm a widower now, and so I could look at it as though I lost my spouse for 35 years, and which is overwhelmingly sad. Or I can say, Lord, I thank you for 35 years, because none of those years were guaranteed. All of those years were blessings. And when I start to do that, my mind shift, right? When I start to say, career wise, is it too late for me to start a new career? Like, okay, so that's letting me know that I'm not stuck. Or have you ever read the book Who Moved My Cheese?
I have not read it
You've
yet.
got to get it. You've got to get it, because they got the short clips on YouTube, and they tells you the gist of the story. But I like it because what it talks about is that you got to get new cheese, that you don't have time in life to sit back and ponder and begrudge when you run out of cheese. And so that's what it's about. It's about two humans and two mice. The humans have complex brains, so they got to process, why did the cheese move? Will there be more cheese? And the mice was just like, this cheese gone, let's go get new cheese. And that's how we have to be. We have to engage life, even in relationships. Relationships end. Oh my goodness. So what do? You got to go get new cheese, right?
Yeah.
Jobs, they come and go. What do? You got to go get new cheese.
Yeah.
And so friendships, and no matter what it is, you can replace that with anything. You have to go get new cheese. And the longer it takes you to get to that process, right? Because you got to let it go, whatever it was, you got to let it go.
Sure.
You got to let it be. Right? You got to let it be. It is what it is. And then when you get in that stage, then you move to that stage and let it come. So now I'm ready for my new.
That's why I'm waiting for my new.
I'm believing God to be independently wealthy this time.
Hello.
All right.
I'm with you on that.
I'm believing God.
I'm believing God to be independently wealthy before the end of this year.
Right. He goes supernaturally give me one divine thought that's going to change. I don't need a million thoughts. He's going to give me one divine thought, and it's going to bless my life. And
bless other people's life.
Exactly.
That's the key, and I think that's the key thing that we also need to remember too. We're not just here just for us. Absolutely,
we're here for our community. So we went through that. We got a couple more we got to get through just real quick.
So the next one is the drama magnet. Of course, y'all already know what that. So every time you turn around,
follow them. They walk in the room.
It's drama.
Somebody don't like them. Somebody looking at them funny.
Somebody
fight. Right, just drama.
Everybody got that one friend you just can't take nowhere, and then you have to start leaving them at home.
You mean the one that sits there and talk about people 5 feet away?
And they can hear him.
Right, and they want to act like they can hear him, and you can hear him. You're like, oh my goodness. Right, look at them over there.
Oh my God, that dress she got on is horrible.
Oh, she don't like him. Look how she crossing her fingers and look at how her phone like, be quiet,
Like, man,
drama magnet, right?
Yes,
so what do you do with the drama magnet? What happens if you're in a relationship with somebody that does it, the drama?
Run. I don't know if there is. I think run. Because I was gonna say balance, but I don't think there is any balance if every time they just.
Because you're gonna be the drama at one point,
right? Exactly.
So you're gonna be the drama at some point, and that's amazing that how that happens, because they always gossiping, always in other people's business, and
they won't follow your saying is you want to be blessed, they are the best, and so if you like me, calmness, don't want to have all the stirring of the boat and stirring of everything, you just be like. Over there.
I'm right. I'm blessed. I'm highly favored. I ain't got time for that. I don't have time to be in drama. People talk about ministry things, and sometimes church can be drama. I don't do drama. I be blessed, and because I know that the Bible says that if I walk uprightly, ain't no good thing God will hold for me. So I want to walk uprightly. Amen. Now, what about that jealous, judgmental person?
Yeah, we call it the JJ.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because a lot of times the jealous, judgmental person don't realize that they are.
But you know what though? Now think about it. Everybody get a little jealous sometimes, but I think most of us walk ourselves back when we get jealous, and we be like, "Wait a second, that's not reasonable, right?" But the
judgmentalness is interesting because you have some people that are so critical, so judgmental of others, and be ready to point out everybody else's flaws, and then you have to pause and be like, "Hold on."
Yeah.
Just like what Jesus did when the Pharisees brought the woman who was caught in the middle of adultery, and we pointed out two things. One, why you only brought the woman? Because where's the man? Because if she was caught in adultery, it was two of them.
Right.
And then And Jesus said, okay, ye who have not sinned, cast the first stone. Y'all so busy want to call out and have her stone and want her to die for her sins. But when it's you and your sins,
Mercy, Lord.
you mercy, Lord, or it's you and your child, mercy, Lord. God, give them forgiveness and give your grace. But if it's somebody else doing something to your child, you want to you want to be like throw the book at him, Lord. So
and that's how jealous and judgmental people are. And as I said, the Christianity, if when Christianity gets weaponized, it can actually be dangerous.
Oh my
and
God,
detrimental,
yes.
right? Because it's not just about bawling people out and telling people how they ain't no good. That's not what Jesus did. Jesus gave people life. Jesus went and healed those who were hurting. He ministered to those who had need. And so the example we need to be following is Jesus' example.
Yes.
Right. And so he didn't excuse the woman at the well's behavior. The woman caught in adultery. He didn't excuse her behavior. He didn't excuse the woman at the well's behavior. He didn't excuse it, but what he did is he ministered to them privately without taking away their dignity.
Yep. And I think that's key and important. I think that's a lesson for us as Christians to never forget that as we are trying to draw, the word says that God draw all men unto him, and for us to go out in the hedges and highways to compel people to come to Christ. And I think we need to be mindful when we say the word compel, because compel could be this very strong piece. But we need to be mindful of how are we compelling? Are we compelling with fire and brimstone? You're going to hell, your life is horrible type of things, or you have to be this way to be welcome to Christ? Or are we compelling through love, which is what God tells us love covers a multitude of sin? If we show love, kindness, forgiveness, grace, and mercy, that is what's going to draw someone faster to Christ than us always being so negative, so judgmental, pulling out all their flaws.
Because the whole thing is that what is Christianity? Is Christianity just a behavior modification program?
Right.
No, Christianity is about us having a relationship with God, amen, and having a relationship through Christ, and developing in that relationship and growing in that relationship and moving forward in that relationship. And so, it's not just about rules, because if people if they keep the 10 Commandments, does that mean they go into heaven without Jesus?
No. Well, God said we weren't getting in by works.
Right. We're getting in by relationship.
He said you ain't getting in by what you do, because if that's the case, all of us ain't none of us going.
Then my behavior should be I should be motivated by my behavior through my relationship with God. So it's not the crossing all these things that I don't do off the list. If I don't have Christ in my life, then I'm going to be lost.
Yes.
And so I need to have a relationship with Christ. And because the remedy for sin is salvation.
It is.
That's a remedy for sin. And so we want to encourage people to have a relationship with God. What we're finding out with what some call the great falling away. I don't think it's the great falling away. But with the great falling away that happened, a lot of people are disconnected because they don't feel connected to God. They feel like service, worship, and church is a task to be done, rather than me having a relationship with God and me going to church and being part of a community is my way of fellowshipping and growing in that relationship.
Because people think that to be saved, you need to do things. I mean, of course, we know you have to confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ rose and dies for your sins. But it's one of those other pieces where people think, well, okay, I got to go to church every Sunday. I got to pay my tithes. Then I got to be on the auxiliary board. And then I got to do the 10 Commandments. And then I got to do.
And those are all tasks.
And those are tasks. And so when you do the task oriented, just like when the rich man came to Jesus, and he said, okay, God, Jesus, I've done this, and this. Okay, can I go to heaven now? And then Jesus said, okay, give up all your worldly possessions, and then you follow me, and then you can go to heaven. And then the man got upset and walked away.
Yeah, he's like, I'm good.
He good, because of the fact it's like, it's not about the works. It's not about the task. And I'm not saying that you don't need to do the things that we said. Those are incorporated in the relationship, because the relationship, when you're in a relationship with somebody, you spend time with them, you cherish them, you reverence them, you fear them, you love on them, you respect them, you honor them, you apologize to them when you do them wrong. You embrace them in good times and bad times. You're supportive. You have their back, and that's what God wants from us. That type of relationship where He know we ain't perfect. He know we gonna mess up, so He want to hear, "Okay, Daddy, I'm sorry. I know I ain't did this. Daddy, I actually need help with this because I'm gonna need your wisdom. Because this little situation right here, I know I've been in this multiple times and I can't find my safe way out. I need you to give me the tools and the skills to be able to get away from the temptation and not to want to put myself in that place. So help me in that. How do you help me with those things? That's having a relationship with God and understanding, knowing that God is there for you and what He needs. He never leave you nor forsake you. But it's not like, okay, I'm gonna go to church on Sunday, I'm gonna go to Bible class, I'm gonna pay my tithes, I'm gonna sing in the choir, and then I'm gonna read that one scripture. And then I'm gonna hurry up and read that one scripture, say my prayers, and be like, okay, cool, I'm going to go do my life.
Right.
No.
Right. And so it's about relationship, reading the Word of God so you understand the nature of God. And then when you love somebody, you don't do things that hurt them. Right. And so that's what we encourage. And that's lasting. That's fulfilling. Remember, we talked about you have all this stuff. Remember, we were studying in our devotion about Martha. Martha was so busy serving God that she wasn't serving God.
Right. She wasn't gleaning what she needed. And so I love that because it helps us to realize there's a time to do God's work, but there's a time to sit with Him and sup with Him and learn. Because in order for you to do the work, you need to glean with Him so that He can give you the vision, the direction, and the guidance and the wisdom that you need to actually do this thing. So if you keep thinking that the walk is really going to be keeping busy, you just being a busybody. You're not really fulfilling what the Word is saying when it talks about, go and compel those to come to Christ, because you can't compel nobody to come to Christ if you ain't read your Word. You can't compel nobody to come to Christ if you ain't got no testimonies about how God brought you through.
Absolutely.
You can't compel nobody to come to Christ if you ain't got no prayer life.
And so what will happen is you will hear people say that they lost it or they spiritually burnt out, when the truth of the matter is that they're not doing things to spiritually, rejuvenate themselves. And so that's why you want to do devotionals. That's why you want to take part in community of the church and be involved with what's going on. Those things should be rejuvenating, not tasked to be tasked out. So we got two more we're going to go through really quick as time permits. First of all, the liar. We don't even got to go there. We all know the liars, and they lie, and all they do is lie. And then they lie about lying. And then when they ain't lying, they still lie. Right? So we know how that goes, right? Nobody wants to be involved with the liar. But the last one is the tank.
Yeah.
The tank, those are people that come in and just crush everything in its path.
Yeah, all your dreams.
Right.
Your hopes. The tank is the one where they always right, doesn't take anyone's feelings or ideas. You got those people who they say stuff and they ain't thought about what they said. As our grandmothers would say, honey, you need to put a little sugar on it. Right. This the person that don't put no sugar on it. And then when you be like, so-and-so, why did you say it like that? Well, it's the truth. Well, it could be the truth. However, do you want the person to receive what you're saying? You can't say the person stink and be like, you stink, you need to go take a bath. Now, it may be true that they may have an odor issue, but there's a way to kind of say that to not to hurt the person's feelings.
Not to hurt the person's feelings. And they crush people because the only feelings that matter is theirs. And I know people who are tanks and they do not care. They think that people in the universe are there for their pleasure, right? When you're in a relationship with them, they take people, I like to say, take hostages, right? You shouldn't be in a relationship with somebody taking you hostage. You should have some freedom. You should feel free. But when you're in those relationships, they want people to be like puppies. I call them puppies of furniture, where every time they come in the room, you sitting there. Well, that's not realistic. That's going to be smothering after a while.
Exactly.
And so that's how that tank is. They crush people emotionally. If they
don't like challenge.
They don't like challenge, right? And it's because they often think they're the smartest person in the room. Oh God, you ever work with the person who's the smartest person in the room?
Yeah.
Oh God, they are the smartest person in the room.
They can't learn nothing from nobody.
Yeah. So they see every conversation and person as a challenge that must be won over. right? So everything you say, they want to challenge you, and we have people like that are in our lives. They don't want you to get no shine. So if somebody's giving you some credit or something like that, be like, oh, well, it wasn't all that. Or, well, I did this, that, and the other.
Right.
That tank is that person that's going to come in and crush people. And we want to make sure that we're not the tank in people's life. We should be lifting up people. We should be encouraging people, and definitely encouraging them in the way of the Lord. So those are those 7 toxic types.
Yes, those are those 7 toxic types.
And we got through them.
We did get through them. So we'll have to go through what we call the people that you really want in your life. You know. So it's 7 of those as well. So we want to go through those to talk about in the Christian aspect, like who are those people? Who are those people that you really want around? And then what do they actually bring in life? And then looking at those different pieces. I think the key for us when we talk about both sides, the toxic and the people that you want around, is for you when you're in a relationship is to be aware. You need to always have some time to do reflection.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times when we're in relationships, people don't take the time to reflect. And it's the number one thing you need to do, because one, as you're reflecting, it allows 2 things to happen. The first thing is, as you're reflecting, it allows you in your prayer time for God to speak to you, because that's usually when you're reflecting, you're quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And so God can minister to you and point out some things, and your discernment is able to sense and know what's going on and how to move. And the other thing is, when you are in your reflection time, it allows you to see how do you correct behavior.
Yeah.
And so it keeps the focus off of you, and it really brings it on to, ooh, this is where I still need healing, where I'm still am broken, where I need to go deep in prayer for.
Yeah.
Instead of always thinking that it's the other person in the relationship, the reason why the relationship is not working. Not saying that they don't have their own stuff, they do. But if you know that you're in a process of, that you're still healing in some places, you are more inclined to give the person on the other side of the table or the person sitting next to you a lot more grace, because you and then you can admit and be humble and say, I'm glad you said that, because you know what, I'm still struggling in this area too, and maybe we can work together on how both of us can get out of not doing X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely, because that's how life works. So the main thing is that if you're in a relationship, you want to be in a relationship that is rewarding, that's fulfilling, and someone who's helping you get to where you're going. A relationship should not be you jumping on somebody else's boat and just going for a ride. True relationship is, if we're in true relationship, then I have somebody who is supportive and encouraging my dream, but at the same time, that person isn't possession just for my sake. I'm also pouring back into them. So they should have their I'm helping them achieve their dream. And that's what relationship is about. It's about being there, right? So when you're going through, sometimes you're going through and you need a handhold or a hug. Sometimes you're going through and you need somebody to help you up. Sometimes you're going through and you need somebody to take care of you.
Yep.
And love is when people are in relationship with you and they want to and they're motivated to help meet your needs.
Exactly. And love is also, sometimes you may love the person, but might not like them in that moment. And I think we need to get to the point where we say that. People think that being in a relationship, that you always have to like them or like their ways and like their behavior. No, there's going to come moments where that doesn't happen on both ends. But the love piece is that I love you enough to work this out. I love you enough to listen. I love enough to forgive you. I love you enough to see how we can work through our ups and downs, and don't feel like that the minute things don't go the way that I think they should go, then I'm ready to jump out of the relationship.
Absolutely. Time goes by really fast. This hour goes really fast. We pray that you were blessed and you enjoyed listening to the 7 types. We pray that you have gotten some information that'll be a blessing to your life. So I am Bishop Sherman Henderson, Senior Pastor at Revival and Land Missionary Baptist Church, located at 9134 South on Cottage Grove. And I would love to see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock service.
Yes, and I am Evangelist Marquise Holyfield, and super excited for you all to be with us this Saturday morning for Real Inspiration Radio. We invite you to come back with us again next Saturday at 11 a.m. We would love to see you. And don't forget, if you come to see us tomorrow, don't meet us there, beat us there. Have a great weekend, you all.
Pray God bless you and heaven smile upon you. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Views made on the preceding program are not those of WVTC Radio, iNetworks Communications, or their financial supporters.
Winning victory.